So here we have the 5 packs that make up Devastator. Devastator is a 6-part combiner. Is not a Scramble City combiner, so he does not have the central larger figure that has other figures then attached to it. So you have a Voyager class Scrapper, Deluxe class Bonecrusher, Leader class, just in terms of packaging, Long Haul and Hook, a Voyager class Mixmaster, and a Deluxe class Scavenger. And let's just look very quickly at the packaging. Both of the Voyager class figures are packaged just with images of their robot forms in the package. There's a nice image of Devastator lifting Sludge and going to throw him at Slug, or Slag, from the 1986 movie. And so this says that Scrapper combines in 17 steps and Mixmaster transforms in 15 steps. The 2 Deluxe class figures are presented exactly the same in robot mode. These are Studio Series figures. Looking at them, they've just got a Devastator image on the side. The exact same Devastator screen cap from the movie there, and then just pictures of them in their robot and vehicle modes. Bonecrusher transforms in 16 steps, and Scavenger transforms in 15 steps. And then for the final piece, here is the large box that contains both Long Haul and Hook. Once again, exact same picture, and Hook transforms in 17 steps and Long Haul in 19. And so let's get to the transformation then, shall we? Hi everyone, and welcome back to The Shelves Have Eyes. I'm Phantom, recovering from a cold, and here we are at the final episode of Unboxing Day 2025. Our cavalcade of Constructicons is now complete. Here is Devastator, both Studio Series 86 and Combiner Wars. So the first part of the video, I will compare Studio Series 86 to their Combiner Wars counterparts. First, we will compare them in robot mode, then alternate mode, and then we will put them all together to make Devastator. So here is our lineup. I have put them in the order that Studio Series 86 was released, because Combiner Wars Devastator only came in one set altogether. Just looking at the figures at a glance right now, this is the first time I've touched these Combiner Wars figures in probably 6 to 7 years. And they were still in Devastator mode, so I had to take them out and transform them from their quasi-vehicle modes back into their robot modes. And let me tell you that just right off the bat, the plastic quality on the Studio Series 86 figures is much better than the plastic quality on the Combiner Wars figures. Now, you will see here that all the Combiner Wars figures are much larger than their Studio Series 86 counterparts. All of them are roughly what used to be Voyager class size. Now, Voyager class means something completely different, because now Voyager class is dependent upon the R&D engineering that went into making the figure, as well as what accessories it comes with. But back in the day, Voyager class figures were just bigger. They were just taller. None of these Constructicons come with any guns or any other accessories other than this heap of pieces that you use to make Devastator. I have long since lost the instruction booklet for Combiner Wars Devastator, but transformation was not difficult. The only thing that I cannot account for is if these Devastator pieces are actually connectable to any of these particular figures to carry them. Like, Studio Series 86 has this huge trailer that Long Haul carries that came with his figure, that has all the pieces to Devastator that you need. Connection pieces, hands, his chest plate, all that. Scrapper did come with the 2 pieces to Devastator's gun. But here, they're just a weird mishmash of pieces. This, which looks to be a gun, or at least styled to be a gun, you can see gun ports here, and there's a 5mm peg here for one of the toys to hold it in his hand, as if it's a double-ended blaster. These are described as swords. These two pieces are exactly like Studio Series. They both have 5mm pegs, so a toy could hold them as two individual guns. These are Devastator's hands, which have been converted into missile pods, just like Studio Series 86. However, these are actually colored in. They're colored in silver, and it is a very attractive look. With that brief introduction out of the way, let's get started. So here we have Scrapper in both Combiner Wars and Studio Series 86. Looking at them very briefly, I mean, obviously this Scrapper is larger. Obviously this Scrapper looks more accurate to how he was depicted in the show. The neon green for Combiner Wars Devastator is slightly less accurate, I would say, than this kind of cream lime that Studio Series 86 went with. Obviously, because this is a larger figure and part of a gift set, he's got a lot more stickers, paint appliques than Studio Series 86. He did not come with an individual gun. Looking at him, I remember thinking back in the day he looked really good. And he does look really good for a Combiner Wars figure. But there is absolutely no comparison between Studio Series 86 and Combiner Wars. This Scrapper has simple knee joints. He has a rocker heel, but that is actually part of the transformation. You need the rocker because of how his leg transforms. He has no elbow articulation. He has very simple shoulder articulation. There's not a lot of give there because it hits into his bulldozer prow. His hands have a tendency to rotate further than they are supposed to. There's a lot of negative space here. He does not have a hip swivel. He does have very nice quasi ball joints for his hips, but it really isn't doing this figure a lot of good. If he can't bend his elbows, then he really is not very posable at all. As we will see with the rest of the Combiner Wars variants of this Devastator set, huge concessions were made in the robot modes of these figures in order to allow them to become Devastator. And that makes Studio Series 86 slightly more impressive simply because, yeah, overall, their proportions might be slightly naff. Like I said, Scrapper has his knees far too low down than is actually feasible. The two excavation tread-legged robots are really awful in Studio Series 86. But you get the sense that even if concessions were made with Studio Series 86, all of these figures are at least posable. Their arms may be stubby, their legs might look ridiculous, they might have virtually no torso to speak of. I'm looking at you, Scavenger. But all of them have a range of motion that you would expect from a toy today. They can bend their knees, they can bend their elbows, their shoulders move, their hips move. Most of them have an ankle tilt. All of their heads can turn. You can pose them. Combiner Wars, you cannot really pose this at all. It's difficult to even move him. This is about as far as you get with Scrapper, and it's really not that impressive. So overall, I would say I definitely give this one to Studio Series 86. Moving on to Bonecrusher. Bonecrusher is my least favorite Studio Series 86 Constructicon, and I will say that I think I may actually prefer the Combiner Wars Bonecrusher. He's not really as posed. His hips will not stick together anymore. I don't know if that's just age or how he was packaged and stored, but yeah, he's not really holding together very well. But his legs are actually quite impressive. Unlike the Studio Series 86, that just has a break. Here, you actually pull out the joint during the transformation. He does have a rocker heel. It's actually quite impressive what they did with the tread legs for this particular bone. Oh my God. For this particular Bonecrusher. He looks really sturdy. He looks cartoon accurate. His arms are actually proportionate here, and they are not in this figure. So I'm sorry, Bonecrusher, but in this case, I will give this to the Combiner Wars. He's got weird bits of kibble here because this is part of Devastator's arm. This joint here that moves his cab up and down so that his head can actually seat correctly, made horrendous plastic scraping noises. I am terrified to move this back. Once again, I don't know if that's age, but the plastic used for all the Combiner Wars figures does seem to be quite brittle. It seems very thin. These are much more high quality plastic, which is odd for us to say in this day and age. Like I said, this Bonecrusher's arms are actually proportionate. They are not weirdly stubby like the Studio Series 86. Overall, this Bonecrusher wins simply because he looks like a robot. And this Bonecrusher looks like a brick that got up and started walking. So, on to the next one. Here is Hook. So with this one, as we get further into the Combiner Wars variants of these figures, you're going to notice that transformation and articulation kind of goes out the window, because the more integral a part of Devastator they are, the more concessions were made for the figure. Don't get me wrong, I believe that the engineering of Combiner Wars Devastator is fantastic, but we're going to do Long Haul next, and it's very clear he was made because they needed Devastator and not because they wanted to make a Long Haul figure. Looking at this, I mean, their faces, all the likenesses are very spot on. This Hook is much longer than his Studio Series 86 version. He doesn't really have much articulation. He has the same articulation in different places as Scrapper. He has these kinds of joints for a elbow, and yeah, as you can, you know how I feel about these from Quake. It makes him look like the Transformer cars that were in that RC set from G1 in 1984. That's what they remind me of. He's going to pop up and he's going to attack, and then he's going to convert back into a robot and go around the RC track. It does have a knee joint of a sort. It gets in, the kibble on his leg actually gets in the way, so he can't really bend it. His feet pop off very easily because they're on a very shortly stalked little pin here. He does have a rocker joint, and his foot can go up. So, I mean, that's something. Proportionally, he's nuts. This is not an impressive looking figure. Certainly not as impressive as Studio Series 86. So I will definitely give this one to Studio Series 86. Okay. Long haul. Here we come to the worst figure in the Combiner Wars set. I actually quite like this Long Haul. He's a big chunky boy. He looks broad, and he looks like he would transform and knock Optimus Prime off of a mountain. This is just not good. He has no articulation in his arms other than a shoulder and this kind of wing movement. Look at the size of his thighs. These really aren't even feet. He's got a rocker heel here for some reason. I don't know what that reason is, because if you were to move him incrementally in order to make use of these rocker heels, it looks like that. It looks like Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny in short shorts in a pool being drowned with a garden hose. Huge amounts of kibble all over his body. It's just this Long Haul was a mess to begin with, and looking at what we are capable of now, it's just even worse. This is barely a figure. It is Devastator's torso, and you just flip some parts around and it is a robot. Studio Series 86 definitely wins this competition. Here we have Scavenger. Surprisingly, I like the Studio Series version of him. Proportionally, I would say that Combiner Wars looks a little weird, but I like his proportions. He doesn't have stubby arms, first of all. And once again, he has the pull-out for the tread legs, which allows him to have a much smoother knee joint there. I mean, he's fairly posable, but he's extraordinarily flimsy. He does need kind of the scoop to hold him up. He does have rocker joints, as did Bonecrusher. They actually did a really good job with the tread feet for this one. I don't like his head. He has the quake problem where he's constantly looking down. You can't actually seat his head all the way forward so that he's looking forward. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll give this one to Combiner Wars. There isn't anything inherently wrong with Studio Series Scrapper. I really don't like the way that they handled the tread legs. I mean, he has essentially the same functionality, except you don't pull his tread out. And if you were just able to pull the treads out to reveal the knee joint, most of my problems with the treaded Constructicons for Studio Series 86 would be solved. His stubby arms don't bother me as much as Bonecrusher's. He definitely doesn't even have stubby arms. But my caveat here is this is a very flimsy toy because a tremendous amount of puzzle boxing is required to get him into his robot mode. And it's just a toy of concessions. He doesn't have the huge crotch of Studio Series 86. And he doesn't have the weird crotch problem that the Combiner Wars Bonecrusher did. Overall, I'm not really happy with either of them, but I guess I'll give it to Combiner Wars simply because I like his arms. And finally, Mixmaster. This is a pretty tough one, actually, because Mixmaster has the issue that Combiner Wars Hook did, where he has the weird elbow joint, and his arm doesn't look great anyway, so it's just kind of damning with faint praise. This one has the exact same issue, tiny forearms. He does have a nice range of motion in his shoulders, though, so that's something at least. But these legs, this isn't even a foot. It's just adding a fake little rocker heel to something that is just kibble from his vehicle mode. That's not a foot. And also, he's got a huge hornet tail on his back, which Studio Series 86 does not. So I'm going to give it to Studio Series 86 for this one. So here are the Constructicons in their vehicle modes, their alternate modes. Long Haul is just so huge, I can't fit him in the line. I mean, clearly you can see they are generally similar. I mean, even down to the missile pods on the back of Studio Series Long Haul's trailer being identical to the missile pods on Combiner Wars Long Haul. So let's start with Long Haul, just because he's right here. Yeah, I mean, just look at this. This actually looks like not only the animation model, but an actual vehicle. This, I don't even know what this is. How do you describe this? It is the length of 2 lanes. It is the width, rather, of 2 lanes. It really doesn't look like any piece of construction equipment at all. You got these huge gaps here in the back. Missile pods in the truck. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Huge concessions were made in Combiner Wars Devastator. I don't know how many more times I'm going to end up saying that. Not a realistic looking vehicle in any respect. This one looks okay. I mean, at least resembles the animation model. Whether that is factually correct to the vehicle it is supposed to be depicting or not. Also, having the Devastator pieces be a trailer is actually really smart, because once again, you're bypassing the why does a construction vehicle have all of this ordnance. Also, it allows for a much more compact look for all of Devastator's pieces.
Butterfingers?
As opposed to this. I mean, this is good for what it was, I guess. I don't like it. I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now. So, Studio Series 86 Long Haul wins the prize for actually looking like a vehicle. So the two scrappers, very nice. They both roll fairly freely. I mean, let's just ignore the fact that this has all these guns on it, shall we? The scrapper bumper license plate on the Combiner Wars version is a nice touch. You do have the Decepticon typograph on the top. I mean, yeah, neither of them really resemble the animation model, and neither of them really resemble an actual vehicle, but I guess this one looks more like a vehicle than this one. This one looks like something trying to be a vehicle because you're supposed to be a vehicle, and this one just looks like some weird roided out piece of construction equipment. So I'll give this one to Combiner Wars. Still, I mean, they're remarkably similar. Bonecrusher. It is important to note that Combiner Wars Bonecrusher does have these little wheels. It does absolutely nothing because he doesn't have wheels in the back. But at least it helps him roll a little bit more as opposed to just dragging him like Studio Series 86. I guess I'll give this one to Studio Series 86 for being animation model accurate, even though this one kind of looks more like a piece of construction equipment. But very similar. So for the hooks, both of them roll really well. I really like them both. This one does not have an extending boom. They are pretty good, pretty good. They're essentially the same toy. That really extends to all of these Constructicons. Transforming them all into their alternate modes really did reveal that so much of the engineering of both figures is the same. Like structural differences, size differences, minor little cosmetic differences aside, all of these Transformers, with the exception of Long Haul because he's enormous, all of them transform essentially the same way in both figures. They fold the same way. Devastator's head is hidden in the same place on Hook. Hook's backpack with his boom transforms the exact same way. His head is revealed in exactly the same way. His legs transform in exactly the same way. So I guess I'll give this one, it's a tie for this one. Really? Because look at this. It's essentially the exact same thing. All right, Scavenger, pretty good. Once again, this one has roller wheels, even though, he actually does have a back roller. So this one actually does roll. Huh, that's pretty nice, actually. This one does not. In any case, once again, transformation was really similar between these two figures. Once again, it's difficult. It's difficult because they're essentially the exact same thing. You can even see the parts of its robot mode in exactly the same places. You can see hinges in exactly the same places. I mean, the only difference was just because this one was larger, they were able to do the slide out leg that I like so much. This is really a tie. I mean, I guess I'll give it to this one because this one just seems more solid than this one. And Mixmaster. Unsurprisingly, this transforms pretty much exactly the same. Yeah, this is a difficult one because they went from a front-loading mixing truck, cement mixer, to a back-loading cement mixer. So instead of over the top, you have on the back. And you have the secondary cab thing, which is weird. I'm going to give it to Studio Series 86 simply because he looks like an actual vehicle as opposed to this thing. This one at least looks like a vehicle and looks like his animation model. So I'll give it to this one. Both of them roll really well. All right, on to Devastator. Okay, so all of the Constructicons have been transformed into their Devastator modes. So now it's just all about putting them together. So for Studio Series 86 Devastator, we have all of these pieces. So these are the 7 pieces that make up Studio Series Devastator. We also have these pieces that are his shield, chest crest rather. So we're just going to put all these together. together and unfold his hands. It really is quite amazing that this Devastator is essentially Combiner Wars Devastator. Everything transforms fairly closely to Combiner Wars Devastator, even down to the fact that he does not have a movable thumb on his fists. Even the connection pieces inside are exactly the same. They just have a 5mm post. He even has the little 5mm posts you pull out of the back of his hands to attach them to Longhaul's flatbed. So it's really quite surprising how much reverse engineering they did in order to essentially make the exact same combiner. I'm not complaining. I believe that Studio Series 86 Devastator is fantastic and he looks great. But I think it's really surprising how similar these two are. But let us put together his torso first. So we take Hook and we take Longhaul. And there should be two clips here, one in the top of Longhaul and the other one on the bottom of Hook's foot. Oh, bollocks. I mean, strictly speaking, you don't really need this tower. Truth be told, I believe the animation model is missing this tower anyway, so you could take it off if you want. We'll keep it on for right now because that's how the instructions said to do it. So you are left with this so far, and then we attach Longhaul to here. I think this doesn't seem to be like. Oh no, it does. It lines up. I think. Does it? No, something's not. Something's lining up right. I know I've done this one correct. All right, that's in fairly tightly now, like this. It's very clear that they want Longhaul's feet divots to fit right here, but I don't know how you're supposed to do that. All right, that was a little weird. I didn't really particularly care for that, but whatever. So we have Devastator's torso. I also have the rest of Combiner Wars Devastator all over the place here as well. Here we slide this pin in here. This seems fairly correct. This seems right, but it's not going in. There we go. Wow, that was actually quite tight. And then we put and with Scavenger, it's the exact same process. So we've got two arms on Devastator. There's only a little bit of play you've got here. And then now we just hook the legs on, which... All right, let's try Mixmaster first. All right, Mixmaster I know goes on correctly. How is this supposed to go? Oh, all right. So I guess you need to actually open up Scavenger's leg in order to do this. Seems kind of strange considering the directions didn't really call for it, but he's got little divots here that perfectly go into spots on Scavenger's leg. So I guess we just got to sandwich it. Is that right? Sandwich it. Wow, this is actually a lot more involved than I believed it was going to be at first. There we go, I guess. That seems locked on now. Everything seems to be locked on now. Gotta put Scavenger back the way he was. And I believe he yes, he does. Well, this one doesn't have an ankle tilt, does it? Oh, it does. My God. All right, so he's got ratcheting ankle tilts. That doesn't seem right. That seems really low. Seems really low on his chest. Okie dokie Dillio, it has just been pointed out to me I'm an idiot. These two should be swapped. I don't know why I thought Devastator's arms were flip-flopped. But okay, clearly I was wrong. And clearly I'm having difficulties here. Okay, that's one. That's two. Swap them out and we will try again. Because apparently I was being an idiot. Seriously long, huh?
Butterfingers?
Guys, don't make a mistake like I did and end up having to redo all of this all over again. And there should be tabs, and there are. There are tabs here on either side that fit into the tread pattern to further secure the arms to Devastator. This should work. Yes. Put together his gun, stick it in his hand, and here you have him. Studio Series 86 Devastator. So yeah, I will say that this was a little bit more involved than I thought it was going to be. I do like the fact that he does have an ankle tilt, despite, you know, this being individual components. I do like the fact he needs to stand like this instead of straight on. It does kind of make him look more like his character model from the show. I mean, there's nothing you can really do about this weird little wing, chicken wing look, because the rest of him is very sturdy. This is not going anywhere. No pieces are falling off. This is not G1 here. So I will say that I find this extraordinarily impressive. It's a really nice set. The figures all look generally good individually, Bonecrusher aside. They all look fairly animation accurate. Devastator looks fantastic, really. I don't really know what else to say about it. He looks nice. I wish this actually had a handle so we could hold it, but it's fine the way it is. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not going to hold that against this toy. So he just needs to lift his arms up like this, and he can hold Sludge and throw him. He has very nice movement there. Like the individual Constructicons, his knee joint is a little high. His thighs are very short, apparently. He does have a very nice hip swivel. It does not go all the way because there's a lot of kibble in his back. Looking at his back, this is really the only downside. The downside is really the back of him does not look great. It really doesn't. He's got this huge backpack that kind of juts out from the middle, and he's got nothing here in his shoulders. So, I mean, I guess the trade-off for this is the fact that he looks fantastic face on. Head on, he looks great. Head on, he just looks fantastic. But in any other angle, he just looks kind of strange. So don't look at him from the back, only look at him from the front. This is a pretty impressive figure, actually. I'm really impressed with how well it works. I mean, I don't want to do anything to Scrapper here. He's not really... The trade-off here is always the fragility of the individual figures make it so that posability is kind of iffy. He's a really large boy, and he's going to sit on the shelf, and that's really it. The likeness is really good. The proportions are okay. He does look like he stepped off of the 86 movie, and that's really what they were going for, and I would say they succeeded. This is actually quite impressive. I'm really impressed with this figure. The same, however, cannot be said for Combiner Wars Devastator. As similar as the transformation schemes for both versions of the figure are, and as clear as it is that concessions were made just in order to make this, I remember thinking Combiner Wars Devastator was fantastic. and I really wanted to get a third-party hook figure, scoop figure, in order to play up the IDW-ness of it. It really is night and day. Looking at this is such a better figure. Proportionally, it's better. Design-wise, it's better. Engineering-wise, it's better. Even if the similarities exist between the two, there really is no comparison. Hasbro took this, futzed around with it, rightfully so, to make sure that the robot modes were robot modes, and then we got this. It really is a testament to how far things have gone, that you start with an enormous figure like this, and you end up with a slightly smaller, but still actually more impressive figure, like Studio Series 86 Devastator. The Studio Series 86 Devastator is absolutely fantastic toy. I mean, I'll always keep Combiner Wars Devastator. I mean, this is a great figure. I remember really liking him when I first got him, but this is so much better. So much better. So much better. This is still impressive, and I like it. I think maybe somewhere along the line, fans might say it's too IDW. And that's not really something bad for me. I love the IDW universe. And I was really sad to see them go, because they had such great ideas and such great writers and such great artists that this doesn't bother me how IDW it is. But yeah, this really hits the nostalgia note right here.
Nothing defeats the Devastator. Nothing.
So thank you very much for joining me and Devastator with this Unboxing Day 2025. I hope that you have enjoyed all of the videos that we have put out today for your enjoyment. And finally, our cavalcade of Constructicons is complete, and it is glorious. This is an excellent figure. If you have the money and you have the ability to find the figures, go out and buy it. Otherwise, like, why would you buy any of the Constructicons if you weren't going to make Devastator? I just want to take a moment and say that both Chrissy and I appreciate everyone that has subscribed to the channel, and everyone that has left a comment, and everyone that has liked any of our videos or shorts. We realize that we're kind of a catch-all bucket, and we're not as focused as some other channels. We both love toys, we both love crafts, and we're just rolling out whatever we're doing at the moment. So thank you very much for joining us for another year of It's Always Raining in Kuto, and by extension, The Shelves Have Eyes. Here's to another great year coming up. We've got some great stuff cooking. Thank you very much for everyone who has become a subscriber and likes what we do. Please continue liking, sharing, subscribing to the channel, so that you know when we put out something new and we have more of an idea of what people like. Send us a comment, send us a message. Let us know what you've enjoyed this year that we've put out. So thank you very much, and we appreciate all of you. Thank you very much for joining me for this extra long Unboxing Day cavalcade. I've been Phantom. This has been The Shelves Have Eyes. Have a good day, y'all.
Transformers, defenders of truth, robots who fight in disguise. Transformers, when the battle is through, only the strong will survive. Told all I want, unknown soul.